You're muted. Can't hear you.
Yeah, we started recording.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Good evening, everyone. Today's Thursday, September 5th, 2024. And it's the first meeting for Community Board 17's Land Use Committee, fiscal year 2024-25. Thank you, and I'd like to officially welcome everybody back from the summer recess, and I call the meeting for order. Greetings. I'm sure everyone's familiar with everyone here. Hopefully you had a prosperous summer. I don't believe we don't have enough people for the meeting minutes at this time. I'll move into the chairperson's report. Again, I'd like to officially welcome everybody back from our summer recess for the first meeting of the CB 17 Land Use Committee. I trust that everyone had a restful break. I look forward for another productive year as we address important issues, land use related issues impacting our community. As we transition back into our regularly scheduled arrangements, I'd like to provide some updates on several key matters that have arisen over the summer that will be critical to our discussions moving forward. Starting with the citywide closures of illegal smoke shops. Before we recessed in May, there was a joint task force that was created with the sheriff that actually went around New York City and shut down about 1,000 or more smoke shops. I personally observed many smoke shops that were there in the beginning part of the year have been shuttered. Some opened back up slightly afterwards, but then they were actually shuttered again. So I'm sure that you've seen that that the smoke shop infiltration that we've been dealing with has been handled, maybe not completely. But as far as I'm concerned, I haven't seen any in operation. If you see differently, please communicate with me or contact me and we'll verify what the situation is pertaining to that. I guess it's a step forward for what we wanted to do, which is to eliminate the overuse or the illegal use of these businesses in our neighborhood. But in the same breath, from outward looking in, we do have a lot of shuttered businesses, which is another conversation for another time. Last week, I did get notified that on August 29th, there was an explosion on 37th Street between Foster and Farragut at about 8:30 p.m. There were no casualties in this explosion, but it caused extensive damage to the properties. The windows were blown out, shingles were destroyed, and the sidewalk was covered with shattered glass. The cause of the explosion as of now, with the information provided to me, was a leak from a basement stove. I'm bringing this up because it underscores the importance of the residents in our neighborhood, allowing National Grid, who's been sending out several notices to try to get their meters and their gas meters inspected. I often ignore these notices, so I'm not accusing anyone of doing the same. They do circulate them quite often, and it's a possibility that had they adhered to those notices and allowed the third-party inspectors to come in and inspect, that they may have possibly been able to find this leak and maybe prevented it from happening. It's worth noting that it did not only affect the neighbor's home, or the home of the actual subject. It also affected the homes to the adjacent properties, which had to be vacated until the city could come and investigate, see if it was safe to return. Just something to put on your radar. Encourage everyone to allow that to happen. Something like that hitting close to home should be a wake-up call to just allow the inspections to happen. It costs you nothing. You just need to make a schedule. They'll come through, take a couple of samples, and give you a report. And on the other note, if something were to happen, you do have a legal ground to say that you did have it inspected and could actually say, how come it wasn't captured at the time? Moving on. So 564 Utica Avenue, which is a development that's being done by Monodoc. As many of you are aware, that project has been started. It was presented to the Housing Committee when probably 2 years ago when it was active. It's going to provide 322 homes with a portion designated for senior citizens. I think we spoke about it. On the ground floor, there's a grocery, there's a clergy for the 67 precinct and Catholic charities. The project is a part of the Vital Brooklyn initiative, which gets spoken about every time we speak about the the buildings that's going around or near Kings County and that area. It's being funded by the New York State Homes and Community Renewal Program. Because it's a state-funded project, it's not subject to YOLA proceedings, or YOLA proceeding was not conducted. Monodoc sent a communication to the office, I think in mid-August, requesting a variance permit. They're asking, although informally, I am gonna bring it to our attention now, so when it does happen, that it won't be new news. They are asking to stage operations at 6 AM, 30 minutes earlier than they're currently approved, which is 6:30. I'm not sure who the approving party was for them to start at 6:30, but that's hopefully something that we could get answers to later down the line. The request aims to reduce pedestrian traffic and vehicular traffic during delivery operations and enhance the safety around the actual project itself. Additionally, they did mention that they won't be starting construction at 6 AM. They would just be taking in the delivery, and the request for the 30-minute variance is based on those grounds. This same group actually circulated a flyer around the same time for those interested in construction trades. They have an enrollment deadline that's set for September 15th. I believe I circulated that flyer. If not, I'll circulate it again for anyone who's interested in taking advantage of that opportunity. And the last thing that I'm going to touch on is the Shirley Chisholm Recreation Center. The construction of the center is ongoing. However, there's been very little communication regarding the workforce and contracting opportunities related to the project since we recessed at the beginning of the summer. I do have some scheduled meetings coming either tomorrow or in the early days of next week, to determine if any progress has been made to these opportunities, both workforce and contracting, to see if they're fair and equitable. All right. The last thing I'll mention is something we'll be reviewing later. We did get an informal thing with 3002 Farragut Road, which hopefully everybody was able to get that information. We'll review it tonight. Again, I believe that they'll come in front of us again to review it. I just want to make sure everybody understand what the changes are, so you can formulate your questions properly. And at this time, I conclude my report. Do we have any questions, or do you guys have any questions for me?
Good evening, Hazel Martinez. I do have a comment about the Shirley Chisholm Center. When the people who live in on Farragut East 32nd Street complain because very often the street is closed and they require accessoride or one of those accessoride taxis, and it cannot pick them up in front of their home. They are forced to walk out to Farragut Road.
Force the transition, Farragut. All right. Thank you. It's a talking point, something that I could bring up in the meeting when we have it. And this has been happening. This is a recent thing, or since the construction began?
It's been happening quite often, but recently a lot. And I mean, the complaint that I received, the person was very, very upset because they had just had knee surgery and could not get out to go to their therapy, couldn't be picked up. And there was no reason why they couldn't allow the car in to pick up the person.
Do you have a date approximately?
I don't have the exact date, but I can
Right.
get that.
All right, if you can, that'd be good, just so when it's a talking point,
Okay.
something I would love to bring up. And
Okay.
privately, if you could share possibly the resident, maybe not on the call, but the resident, so I could
Okay.
really direct it in the correct direction.
Okay, I will.
Thank you. I'm reading the comments too. I'll get to that. Ms. James, Chair James.
Thank you. Jail is fine.
Uh,
With regard to National Grid, right? Do they readily make available? Because I don't ever recall getting an inspection notice. Is that something I can request? Is there certain neighborhoods you target? What's the story with that?
It was like a blanket request that went out. And it had the neighborhoods addressed by zip code, and they gave deadlines for dates. It was a simple like flyer. A lot of people missed it. I honestly missed it myself. I'll try to find it and see if I can circulate it, but I'm pretty sure it's something that you could contact them for, because they're trying to make sure that every resident gets inspected. It's something that they're actually trying to, I think they're trying to make it like a local law
Hmm.
for review. There might be actual penalties actually if you don't do it within a certain time frame. But if I do find that, I will circulate it. But I do encourage that because of something hit so close to home. Not to say it could have prevented it, but why leave anything out that could put us in any danger, you know?
Thanks. It was actually in a member's backyard, quote unquote, not in her backyard, but close enough. So yes.
Let me read the comment. There's still smoke shots on Avenue D near Utica, Farragut Road across from the Amoco gas station on 43rd. All right. Okay, we'll take a look at those. Again, I'll follow up with you. With them. Has anybody else seen any smoke shops? Or has anyone seen relatively the ones that were persistent in your neighborhood? Have they dissipated? At least in formal operation? I know some guys set up tables in the front of them and still continue to do business as usual, but I mean, is the actual storefront opened and operating? All right. No other questions? Guys making it easy, huh? Easy today.
It's Hazel Martinez again. Can I ask something about I don't know if this is land use anymore, but the car wash on Farragut Road and Utica Avenue?
Sure.
I was just gonna ask that, Hazel. Thank you.
Yes, because I mean, it is horrific. It was used as a pan yard. In addition to, I won't even talk about Lotus Lounge and the restaurant because I passed there and I don't know which one of them is louder than the other one. And right now, the entire Farragut Road is to Kings Highway it smells. It's so full of trash. And I mean, it's just the entire strip is full of trash. That place is used. I don't know who they get their permit or whatever from. The music is loud. There's people all over the street. That might be over now, but the trash that is there, the condition that this community is in, we deserve a lot better than what I see.
Yeah, we did receive a
Well,
complaint.
You
Yes,
know,
Ms.
I would like to follow up with that because, I'm right around the corner and it's been, my neighbors are they've been complaining about it all summer. But the main problem that I've been having is that there's a vacate order on that property. There was a fence put up by the city or the DOB, that wooden fence all around it is put up by the DOB, but somebody gave that group permission to be in that space, but it's not legal permission. And I don't know why it was allowed to continue all summer, and it's still going on. I mean, if I could bring my computer over to my back door, they're still playing music loud. It's almost every night. They're supposed to be rehearsing they were rehearsing their pan steel thing all summer. They're there till 12, 1 in the morning, and they're not supposed to be there. There's a vacate order, so I don't understand that, and I don't know what we can do about it.
Yeah, I'm aware. I saw your complaint come in. I'll try to look into. I don't believe they probably had any permission. Let's be honest here. Did they show you?
Well, they had permission. I found this out that they paid someone, but they paid someone illegally because they were paying. They're not paying the owner. They paid someone else, and that this other person, unnamed person, said they could use the space. How did they get into the space if it was locked by the DOB? I don't understand any of it. There's also an antenna coming out of the back of the space, so either someone's living in there or they're also using the back of the space, so they're using inside the building besides the front of the building. So if that's a vacate order on that building, that means it's illegal to be in there, it's unsafe. There's so many issues with it, I don't understand why it's not being addressed.
I'll bring it up and I'll bring it up to I'm not sure who the chair of sanitation is at this time. But I'll make sure to bring it up to his. Well, it's still Mr. Hill, according to this. The trash thing has been an ongoing thing. We know we've been dealing with that. They usually have a pickup party every so often, but for whatever reason, it's never constantly addressed like on a normal frequency. Seems like it just accumulates over time. It gets dirty. They send people over there and to address it, and it's just not part of the regular pickup routes. So that's
They
just.
have cameras installed there. What's the purpose? If there's no surveillance, because I feel if those people are gonna have that thing, because in this community, you only need one bag of garbage for other people to pile on. And if you're going to have right next to that car wash is an enormous amount of bags of garbage right now, why aren't those people responsible for disposing of that? I, as a taxpayer, am tired of cleaning that one strip where everyone dumps their stuff. If you're gonna put a camera up, then it should be used. And some enforcement should be done rather than sanitation wasting my tax dollar cleaning that up every 5 minutes.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree. Dr. Renault?
Hi, everyone. As a follow-up to the National Grid inspection, I've just dropped the information in the chat. National Grid is working with Precision Pipeline.
Yep, that's the company.
We just had ours inspected on August 9th. And once you're inspected, if everything is fine, they're not going to come and inspect it again for 5 years. So I've put the number in the chat if that's helpful to anyone.
Do you happen to have that flyer?
I do.
Okay. I'll get with you, or if you can forward that to me. I don't think it has any personal information on it. It just had like a bunch of dates, right?
That's
Timeline,
correct.
dates and frames, yeah.
That's correct. It's just an address, their phone number, and a QR code. It's basic info.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No worries.
Okay. Any other questions? Which business will replace the Family General? Not sure. Not sure about that. There's nothing new. Why doesn't the DSNY have supervisor's job like it's supposed to? Honestly. Hot spots, if I miss anything. And the additional smoke shops, which I'll go in and review. Then we have, so that concludes the report. I'm assuming there's no more questions, so we'll just move on. I'll address and try to get some attention. We have the executive meeting. The first Monday was Labor Day, obviously, so I'll bring up the necessary information and I'll follow up with what's going on Farragut. I'll probably call the office tomorrow, see what we could do in the immediate term, but the long-term solution is that it needs to be constantly reviewed. It's just turned into a dumping ground. Seems like people just pull up with their vans, they find them, but doesn't do anything about the garbage staying there and creating a hazardous environment. I'll follow up with that. Moving on to unfinished business. Do we have any unfinished business? Does anyone have anything that they wanted to address, spoken on?
I can I just follow up on the car wash and get that out of the way? Do you
Sure.
mind?
Yeah.
Yeah. The garbage is a big thing, but that doesn't really, that's a separate thing from the car wash. Because the car wash in itself, that's a real danger to the community, because of the way it's boarded up. And first, well, there's a number of reasons. They shouldn't be in there, but if they're in there, then it shouldn't be boarded up the way it is, because that's dangerous, because nobody can see what's going on in the space. And that's it's outside, and anybody a kid could walk by, they could grab them and bring them in there. Like, there's no way that we don't see what's going on in there. And there's a padlock on that gate, but someone has the key to it, and people are just going in and out. But we as a community can't see what's going on in there. And it's very dangerous, and the use of the inside of the space is also very dangerous. It's a fire hazard. we don't know what they're doing in there. So I think that's really as important as the garbage right at this point.
Mm.
Because garbage is ongoing, but that has to be like, I think, resolved sort of more immediately.
I got you.
Thanks.
Ms. Quashi?
Hi. In conjunction with what was already brought up about the car wash, there is another problem that was going on this summer where the youth have parties on Troy between Farragut and Glenwood. I guess someone sponsors these parties, which are rather loud, so loud that they shake the windows all the way on Troy between Foster and Farragut. They are violently loud. The parties go on Sunday night, where people have to go to work on Monday, and they go on until about 3 to 4 o'clock in the morning. I spoke with one of our police officers about it, and they know about the parties, and they held over during the summer, I guess, to help the youth stay off the street. But they rent the old Edmonds building to host these parties. You know the old Edmonds building on Troy Avenue? The
Yeah,
old,
yeah, I know
yeah,
the one you're talking about, yeah.
yeah, that one. And the kids are not bad, when the parties end, they go to their respective homes, and they don't do anything wrong. But the music during the parties start around 12 o'clock, and the music is rather loud to where they're shaking my windows. I got soundproof windows, and it was like the soundproof windows did nothing. So this is something that they host during the summer.
Okay.
I think every other Sunday. So this is something that
We'll have to have addressed, because
yes,
obviously it's not gonna happen during the year, but when we
no,
recess, it's something that's gonna go on, so,
yeah,
okay.
that's one. And the second thing, the IBX
Mm-hmm,
project is coming back.
it
I
is.
saw it, yes. And I know they're having an in-person meeting this month.
Yeah, I think I shared that flyer. It's gonna be held in Queens, right?
No, I thought it was on somewhere near in Brooklyn.
Let's see, shared that,
Pennsylvania Avenue.
Yeah, Pennsylvania Avenue.
shared that flyer too. I'll make sure that that gets recirculated. Yeah, it's the
Mm-hmm.
first meeting that I've seen scheduled. I was on that mail list when it came through. I know I shared it immediately. But yeah, I think that everybody, once I have the information, should try to attend. Um, especially if it's in Brooklyn. It's not really in a accessible area. It's like Pennsylvania and Atlantic, right? Am I right? Is that where it is?
Close, Glenmore, something like that.
Yeah, I'll get that information.
So,
Yeah, you have to register.
Yeah, you definitely have to register. See if I can find it. All right. Thank you for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have a September open house. Monday, 9/16, 127 Pennsylvania Avenue, 3rd floor. See if I can share this in the chat. Excuse me. That would be for the IBX. IBX. I'll try to get that shared more formally. I'll try to get this email shared out. You do have to RSVP via the email in order to attend. I think the more people there, the better. The more questions we get to ask. And, I think it might be the first meeting that's actually in Brooklyn. Outside of the initial one, I think that was, they've been relatively held in Queens, I think. So I would take advantage of being able to speak. And that is for Monday, right? Miss James? Sorry.
Sorry, thank you. I think I have what will be disappointing news for some members of the Land Use Committee. As you know, the city had 3 initiatives. The first one was more environmental. They had reached out to the chair, but CB17 did not respond. We did not get to participate. The second one was economic development. I want to thank the land use chair. They reached out to him, they reached out to me, and he did a great job in terms of getting a response to them, getting that facilitated. So I thank the land use chair. The third one, as you know, I think we're all aware of it, involved a lot to do with housing, the way land is going to be used, just the whole thing. We all know all the components of it. I have to give credit to DCP. They were incredible. I was pleasantly surprised. They were very accommodating. They reached out continuously. Even when the board voted it down, they were still very respectful. And I really want to commend them for that. So we did take a vote on it, and the vote was an overwhelming no. Shortly thereafter, they reminded us we needed to meet the deadline. I think it was July 6th. Don't hold me to the exact date, but I think it was July 6th.
Correct.
They actually,
That's
yeah,
correct.
they actually reminded us, to my surprise, that we needed to submit the letter to DC so it could be heard and part of the commission on this. Again, the land use chair stepped up to the plate and did a phenomenal job in terms of preparing the document that captured our position on it, which was overwhelmingly no. He sent it out on the Tuesday before the Wednesday was due. I reached out on Thursday and said, well, we need to respond. We need to give the approval, right? The chair needs to give the approval. The chair responded on Friday that the letter was okay with him, that the signature of the land use chair was fine enough. I reminded the executive committee, including the district manager, that for many years we had been marginalized. And this was the first time in a long time a city agency was actually paying consideration to what we thought. So to my surprise and my disappointment, when the hearing was being held, I think it was a Wednesday, it was all day. Around 7 o'clock in the evening, I was about to catch a flight to Europe. An email must have been sent out asking for me to sign and the chair to sign. Both of us the chair was out of the country. And I was ahead of the country, I was gone already. So essentially what happened is that the district manager did not submit the letter in time for it to be counted as a response. And I meant to have gone online to see what it was, the total, there are 59 boards, what the results were. But if you go online, our response is there. But we failed to meet the deadline, the hearing. As you know, a hearing is an official deadline. There isn't flexibility in it. If you don't respond in time, you're not counted. So unfortunately, CB17's vote on the City of Yes for Housing initiative was not counted because the district manager did not send in the letter until Friday, 2 days after it was due.
All right. Ms. Bennett? Trying to remember order here. Adele?
Yes, my hand was up for a while. My question was in regard to what Marguerite had said, not about what Ms. James had said, but I'm sorry to hear it that took place. I would have loved for our vote to have been counted in this matter. At least our voice would have been heard, as she has stated. I'm just sorry to hear that. But no, in regards to that car wash on Utica, I believe it's 3 of the businesses in the area. They're like squatting on it.
Local businesses.
There are 3 auto businesses in that area. They use it as like a dump. Because I've been watching them.
Your statement is that local businesses are utilizing the vacant space?
Yes. They feel that nobody's there, so they do it.
Okay.
And my question, second question for Ms. James, is there anything that we can do at all in regard to that letter? Or at least having our voice heard? Nothing?
No, because we failed to meet the deadline. The city set the deadline, they extended it. All day we had an obligation to get it uploaded. As I said, the land use chair did a phenomenal job in getting the letter off. I didn't ask for my name to be added to it. It just delayed the process unnecessarily. And even if there was a thought that, well, perhaps the chair as well as I should have signed up, given there was a deadline. It, why are you gonna wait until like an hour before, after the hearing to send the letter out asking us to sign it, knowing fully well that I had said since the week before I was gonna be away, the chairperson was away as well. So I
That's
mean,
right.
what saddens me is that, here it is, we just talked about the IBX position, where they're not even considering us, right? And here it is, DCP made a concerted effort, right, to engage us. They did everything they could possibly or should have done. They didn't ignore us, even when we voted no, reminded us to get in our response, and we just dropped the ball. And to me, that's very unacceptable.
Yes. I agree. Shameful.
Ms. Martinez?
I find it a little strange that it seems to me CB17 is always behind the 8 ball. And they always blame the staff, but I mean, we have a chair and we have a chair of the board, a chair of the committee. Why weren't these things taken care of before they departed from wherever they were going?
Miss Martinez, you didn't hear me. The
Yes, I
land
heard
use
you.
chair on his own compiled, it was a phenomenal document. He didn't say, where are you to help me? He did it, the letter was ready to be sent out a week before it was due. All that was needed was for the letter to be uploaded. On
I thought it
Thursday,
needed signing.
he had signed off on it
Signatures.
already. He had signed off on it already. Okay, and he was perfectly authorized to do it because he had done the work. When I then responded, I saw when time was going by, I sent out an email to the chair and I said, we need to get this letter in. And I can tell you exactly what the chair said. The chair said the land use committee chair has signed off. He's fine with it. He gave approval to go. I said, I'm fine with it. Why was a decision made by the district manager to hold it up and then delay the process? So our voices were never heard in this project. So if, for example, it was a close vote, there are 59 votes, and it was 30-29, we could have made the difference in that particular count, but all vote was not registered. So it's not the chairperson. He had it in writing that he said it was okay to go. I had given the approval. It was a decision by the district manager on her own to decide that I and the chair also need to sign off, although we said the letter was fine.
Sorry. All right.
Okay.
That's a major problem. Major.
Okay.
It's an issue.
Uh,
Issue.
Yolanda Aline.
Sorry, I don't see the hand. Yes, you're acknowledged.
Yes, one of the issues that we have a lackadaisical board in the first place, that
Yeah, thank
nothing
you.
gets done. And if you can't blame the person in the office when the board is lackadaisical in the first place, because there's so many issues that take place that they don't perform what they're supposed to be performing. So that issue, even though it was neglectful, but there is issues that should have been taken place because we have a lackadaisical board. They produce a whole lot of foolishness and rubbish. But anyway, one of my things is that I went through Canarsie the other day. I didn't see one city bike in the entire Canarsie. Why is it we have all kind of bikes all over the doggone place, and in Canarsie there's not one bicycle thing in Canarsie?
All right, so ongoing conversation with our transportation chair. He's been arguing that point for quite some time. They have their data, they have their metrics, and they have their guidelines that they're using as provisions to install the bikes in various neighborhoods. Unfortunately, our neighborhood, as often with anything else, is being selected as the, the greeting grounds. I truly on these bikes, I rarely see them used. I rarely see anyone riding them, but that's a fight that's ongoing. It is a conversation for the transportation committee. That he could better answer the question than I can, is what I'm trying to state here.
No, but that's one of the issues that we have, because we have this lackadaisical board that does absolutely nothing. I feel that we need to get new members, chairperson and all that, because that's ridiculous.
Well, it's been a conversation. You're seeing the results of the conversation, but it's been ongoing. It has been discussed, but there wasn't a grounds for us to reject whatever the city proposed that came from the mayor's office, to my knowledge, but you're entitled to feel the way you feel.
Mr. Chair, can I just respond?
Sure.
The community board members are 50 unpaid volunteers, right? It is not the responsibility of board members to carry on the function. That's why we have a staff. That's why we need to have 4 people in the office, okay? So the work of the community board is conducted by the district office. We have a board here where we have very active members who do work which are not required to do. But again, it needs to be very clear, the work of the board, community engagement, involvement is carried out or should be carried out by the district office, not by the board members. And here I have the approval, again, it's very sad when I just explained that we have a land use chair who took time, how many hours to do that document. He had to compile all that data. He was not paid a dime for that. The time he spent. He has a family. He did it. It was ready a week before it was due. I have a text from the chairperson saying the letter was okay. I said it was okay. There was no reason for the district office to hold up that letter. It was either intentional, so a vote was not counted, or it was just pure negligence.
Ms. Martinez, is your hand raised for something new?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Because I've been on the board years ago, and we went down this road about some other issues, and then they spent a lot of time is spent on these things and not on real community things, because the city council, from what I understand, is going to pass this at any rate. And however, and I think, I feel the responsibility should be left with the board members, because I don't really understand anymore what board members are responsible for. Nothing, just come in once a month and sit down and vote about things they really don't have much understanding about. I think that is the problem here. And that's why our board is ineffective in every way and deficient. And I don't want to spend the whole year bickering about some people's personal grievances with other people, and instead of what our community needs, which are huge.
Well, this was one time the board did not drop the ball. It was the best performance the board ever did in many, many years. They were standing, they did what they did on time, and DCP again was amazing. They did it. So the board needs credit for what it did. The responsibility needs to be placed exactly where it lies, where the letter was done a week before and it was not sent on timely.
Okay. Any other unfinished business?
Oh, yes.
Oh,
Okay. Tommy? Really?
oh, yeah,
I
yeah.
want to know what was gonna happen with that, project for East 98th Street. I don't hear much about it.
No, it hasn't moved through the process to actually be addressed via Europe. At this point, knowing what's coming with the city of SEO and the housing development, I'm assuming that the developer is waiting for these initiatives to pass. I mean, once it does, it might open up some gates and some pathways where he doesn't need to come to us to address the project in its entirety, maybe partially, but possibly not in its entirety. If you read the tea leaves of what we've been reviewing, you see that there's a lot of initiatives there. It's what I believe is the reason why we haven't seen, in addition to the tax abatements, excuse me, in addition to the tax abatement law not being fully fulfilled and a new version of it coming out, I think that a lot of people are holding in their holsters for these initiatives to pass, and it's gonna create new opportunities for them to develop something close for what they're looking for. I don't think in that particular project's case that he could get away with not actually coming through a Europe, but you know, only time will tell. Unfortunately, we can't force him to come to us for something that he's not moving the needle on, right?
I don't know if you heard anything on it, that's all.
Oh, no, no, yeah, I mean, there's always bickerings, but nothing directly. I've seen Mr. Goldstein's name on other documents for other projects, but nothing pertaining to that one in particular.
Yeah, what about, the buildings going up around Rogers?
Rogers, yeah, I've been following up on that.
Oh, yeah.
Everything looks like it's unfortunately above board. I mean, the three buildings that I looked at that we spoke about in June, we reviewed the permits, we reviewed what they had, we reviewed their zoning. It seems like it's going up as of right, you know?
Alright.
It's another one of those things where the zoning was underutilized and now they're trying to maximize it.
Yeah, before we get to it. Alright,
Mhm.
thank you.
All right. Moving on from unfinished business. Sorry for the late distribution of the information pertaining to 3002 Farragut Road. This is just a review for all of us to have the understanding of what's going on. Much like in the past, they're going for a hearing. They filed the documents, which you've seen inside of the thing. Sorry again, I didn't realize that the link was private. It was shared with me and I distributed it. I didn't realize the link was private and I had to extract all the information and create a Dropbox link for everyone to see it. Like in the past, they submitted their initial documents, which showed, you know, the necessary parking things, but there's a few documents that I'd just like everybody to focus on that has the bulk of the information that you should need. Did everyone receive or has access to these documents? These new documents pertaining to this, property? As a reminder, they came in front of us last year. I think they proposed 8 parking spots, right, in lieu of what was necessary or what was needed by building across the street in the particular zoning that they had. And this revised thing is adding additional parking spots. And I want to make sure that everyone can navigate the documents. So I'm going to try to share my screen just to show you the documents that has the bulk of the information for you to review. Let me know if anyone can see it. And let me go to this. Can everyone see my screen? Anybody?
Yes,
Yes, we can see your screen.
All right, so this document is the one that's listed as the statement of facts. I picked this document in particular because it clearly spells out what they've introduced versus what is the required amount of parking spots, right? If you read the introduction, it says this application for the special permit pursuant to 7344 and section 73-03 of the zoning resolution of the city of New York, ZR, to reduce the total number of required accessory off-street parkings from, for a six-story cellar proposed to the group 3, subsection B, ambulatory diagnostic and treatment facility use from 48. So that's an important number. As it stands, the number went from 48 to 24 spaces in the R6/C1 zone, right? They break out based off of the square footage by floors, how many spaces are required versus how many spaces they're providing. I also want to jump over to this document, which is the revised plans. For anyone unfamiliar with reading construction drawings, when you have a revised plan, anything that's inside of a cloud is showing a revision from something prior, right? So they're showing the change in group. They're showing the change in the bin application, which means it's something new. If you were to scroll down, they're obviously showing the changes here, which is showing how they're designating the parking spaces per spots, including bike spaces. And down the document on this sheet, this is what it looked like before. There's a new illustration, and how they're achieving the 24 spaces is by utilizing a tenant parking apparatus, which we've seen in the past. It's the apparatus that will allow you to park 3 cars in one spot, right? Which they show in the elevation here, right? So they've taken the 8 spots that they've originally utilized. I'm not sure if they actually increased the ceiling space to achieve this, but now they're installing these parking appendages to install 3 spots that would be on 3 levels, and they're paying an attendant to be able to facilitate that. So as you come in, so that's their increase from 8 to 24. All right. And then the last document is the impact statement regarding everything else, right? Which is similar to the one that they had before. You see the date is fresh, but these are the documents that I'd like everybody to familiarize themselves with. Or if there's anything that I can help you answer, should you have reviewed it already, I'd like to just give a little bit of time to that. So when we do have them present in front of us, this information isn't new. It shouldn't be new to you. You should be able to ascertain what the goal was. It is an improvement. I mean, I can't deny that fact. Can't deny that, but it's not quite on par with what's required, you know? And with that information, you know, we'll develop whatever our response is. Does anybody have any questions pertaining to that?
Yes,
do.
I do.
Up? All right, so Ms. Viglianti, yes.
Yeah, so I just want to get it straight in my head. So without the permit, they're supposed to have 48 spots, right?
That's correct.
Is that, okay. And they had 8 only.
When they
So
came in front of
now,
us last year, they had,
well, go ahead.
no, I just want to, when they
Okay.
came in front of us last year, their original permit or variance permit was to not
To
provide.
knock
the
it down to 8,
To bring it to 8, yes.
right. And then now they're proposing 24.
They've revised their drawing to increase it from 8 to 24 by installing these machines, yes.
Okay, and that they would have to get the special permit for that.
They would still need a special permit to be able to build a facility without exclusion or removing any additional rooms. And yes, they would still need a permit to move forward with 24.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Any other questions? I saw my hands.
Yes, I do.
All right.
Because I was at that meeting and I objected. I knew they were doing. They're trying to get around the Department of Buildings, their main initial requirement. And they were told they were not going to get anything from the Department of Buildings unless they meet their requirement. I remember that. Because they're the ones that kept parking on the sidewalk and said they were not. And I said, well, I go there quite often around that area, and I know they do. It is impossible with the hydraulic jack system that I've seen all over Brooklyn on one level. It's impossible. You cannot put 3 cars straight up.
I think they may have increased the ceiling height in order to do so.
They would have to triple ceiling height.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the parameters or the specifications to install that. I think we're all familiar with those things in certain places in Manhattan. You see them, you know, you gotta tell the guy. We get
But I-
back within a certain amount of time where your car's gonna be touching the sky. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I've never seen them on the inside. I've always seen them on the side of buildings.
I've seen them in buildings before.
Yeah, I've never
Yeah.
seen it inside because the hydraulic system.
I've seen it in buildings before, and it comes with its own things, I guess, if they need to have it. I
Yeah.
just want to make sure that, being that we have the documents early, you know, we understand what's being asked, you know, 'cause
Oh,
it doesn't
I
really
know
look,
it is.
doesn't really look different for someone who's not familiar with looking at drawings.
Oh, I'm very familiar with statics. But thank you.
Right. Any other questions?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't figure out how to raise my hand. This is Joan Erskine.
Okay.
Do you mind if I just talk?
Absolutely.
So am I understanding that if we don't give them the variance to do 24 instead of 48 parking spaces, then they're not gonna build at all?
I'm not sure what direction that they're gonna take. They are coming back with a revised plan. I'm pretty sure that they really want to build. And they found a way to increase ultimately what they have, but I'm not certain on what will happen from their perspective or what they're gonna do should they not get this revised.
Upon reading the documents that you provided to us, they keep saying, well, you know, we really want to give the community this needed medical, you know, access to these, you know, medical care and procedures. And they certainly act like that and let, you know, gosh, if you don't give this to us, we'll really be sad, but we can't build here. So that was one thing I wanted to find, if anybody had any idea if
It was,
they're kind of saying, you know, you know, this way or nothing.
I'll
It-
fill in and say that the language was similar to the original document,
Okay.
you
And
know?
anyway, that was the impression I got. But then the other thing is that I was wondering, when we do consider this, I was counting up how many exam rooms they have and the waiting room and the treatment room, plus their staff. How many people would be, if they're working at capacity, that's going to be a lot more than 24 people. And they were saying, well, you know, people could be dropped off. Yeah, but when you go to a doctor or have a procedure done, you generally bring someone with you, you know, if you can. They also made a point of mentioning the public transport that's available at that location. And I felt that, well, that's putting it on the patients. Well, you know, you're not going to be able to drive, so take the bus. And again, these are patients, people that are going in for medical procedures that may not be something that they can, you know, sometimes you can't take the bus if you're like
Yeah.
getting a sprained ankle taken care of or something. So I just wondered if anybody else had, or asked people when you read through this, if you could help me understand where they are with that when it comes time.
Judging by the plans, I don't have the number. I would have to review my notes. They did tell us what the staff would be, and I think the impression was the same. I think you're correct. The impression was that the 8 spots initially wasn't enough versus the staff that was gonna be there, even in rotation. But they're here again, you know, they got what is it, 300%? They got 3 times the amount of spots, you know, and it's shooting their shot again, you know? We'll see
But you know,
where,
you also have to remember that they already have a facility across the street.
yeah,
And so, and which already, they're not going to be providing any new services in this new building. It's just going to be
operations.
more of the same. Right. So
Right.
they already don't have any parking for that facility. So
No.
even with 24 spots in this facility, I don't really know. I mean, that sounds great, but there were already a shortage of parking from the other facility. So, what is 24 spots?
Nothing. Well, DOB, I'm sorry, but DOB told them they had to have the 48. They're trying to get the variance from us to go around DOB. That's the problem. And we went through this before with them. They're coming back with a new version to try to kind of sneak it through us when they already had lied to us, and I called them in a lie. And I called them out on it in the last meeting that they were there. Got a little heated because they got caught. I said, no, we stick with what DOB said. 48, they require 48 for the building, and that's the way it's going to be.
Sorry. Any other questions pertaining to this? Everybody, and I just want a confirmation everyone has the documents. Needed for review.
I have one more question, but
Sure.
I don't know this is really that important, but that building, it's 3002 Farragut, but then on the Nostrand Avenue side, it has a different address. It's 2019 Nostrand.
Mhm.
Is that all part of the same thing?
I think it is. Yeah.
So they're taking over two addresses basically, right?
Yes,
Well,
it's
yeah, I think, let me see. Well, I
two
should-
entities.
I think they show an elevation plan of what it looks like from the street perspective. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So it is, sorry, I moved that cloud. It is, the corner. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
that entire lot. If you look at the first, revised plans on the very first page, it's like highlighted in orange with hashes. It's lot 43. So it is those two, or 41, excuse me. It is those two addresses.
There's two addresses on one lot? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's 40 on, oh no, I guess it's saying it's 40 feet or something like that. Yeah, so yeah, it's 41 and it's two addresses. It's the Farragut side and it's the Nostrand side.
And the
It's the
Nostrand side, yeah. Okay,
All right.
yeah, thanks.
Any other questions? Moving on to new business. Do we have any new business? Anything new? Going once? Other than all the new stuff we've discussed tonight. Okay. All right. I just want to make sure I captured everything before I go into adjournment. I have the use of the lot on by the car wash on Farragut. I have the refuse that's outside. I have the summer, during the summer months, we have, I guess it's like a community party on Troy between Farragut and Glenwood with parties on Sundays that extend into the morning hours. We've spoken about the IBX, which I have to get that to you. We've spoken about Precision, which I believe Dr. Renaud shared that flyer with me. I'll try to get that circulated. Again, I encourage everyone to do that. We're back to the car wash again with local businesses utilizing the vacant space to store cars, etc. And someone having some sort of permission to actually utilize the internal parts, even though it's surrounded by a fence. And I think that was it. Did I get everything? Did I miss anything?
No, just make sure that you remember that there's a vacate order from the DOB on that space, on that car wash. 'Cause that's really important when you research it or whatever.
Yeah, I'm gonna do my own research, but I just want to make sure that I speak on everything. So on Monday, I could possibly get with some other chairs and utilize their resources to get some answers or to get some progress in addressing it. All right.
Yep.
Thank you, everyone, for the first meeting. And anyone would like to call a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting. Marguerite,
James,
She go ahead.
seconds.
Motion's been moved and properly seconded. Land use meeting for September 5th is adjourned. Have a good evening, everyone.
Have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
good night,
Thanks.
good
Have a
evening,
good night,
everyone.
everyone.
Good evening.
Hey,
Good night. Good night.
Night. Ms. Farah, tomorrow.
Hey, I saw somebody, call me. I saw somebody from Flatbush Cleanup. Are we in communication with that organization?
Flatbush Clean Up?
Yeah, somebody's name in the on the group. Are we still are we being recorded?
Miss,
I'm trying to turn off the recording. I'm having a little bit of technical issues. Give me 1 second.